So that song, which if you didn't figure out, is called "Finally Home," and it's that song and the next two songs we're about to sing are all kind of connected. They have to do with my relationship with my dad. That's where it came from, but it's like the trilogy of songs, if you will. This is like the Star Wars of songs, is what it is actually. And I'm actually singing them out of order, which is a lot like Star Wars, but I guess to explain what I'm talking about. So Finally Home, the song we just sang, was written on the 10th anniversary of I Can Only Imagine, all right? And so we're not singing that yet, so calm down, all right? So this is like the worst presentation ever. We'll get there, sing it. And so it was written on the 10th anniversary of I Can Only Imagine. So explain, Imagine was written after my father passed away with cancer, but it was written like a few years after my father passed away with cancer. And the way it came about was we were leaving the gravesite when I was 19, and my grandmother was looking out the window and she said, "I can only imagine what Bub's singing right now." And it stuck with me, obviously. And I used to write that phrase down in anything I could get my hands on. And I don't know if you remember this, but I grew up in a time where telephones were stuck to the wall and there'd be a cord coming out of them. I've heard stories of old, but my kids say I was born in the 1900s, which technically is true, but I still knock them down whenever they say it. But you know, if you wanted privacy with this phone, you had to have like a 68-foot long cord that went down the hall and into your room, and you'd be like, "I got it, get off!" And so if you were put on hold, you couldn't go nowhere, you had to sit there. So I would just be sitting with a pen and I'd be writing I Can Only Imagine down over and over and over and over. Did it for years, actually. So that was, my dad passed away in 91. So in 99, in 94, we started MercyMe. My grandmother, who said that about I Can Only Imagine, she also named the band. She called me, and I was sort of working at a church in Florida at the time. She was like, "What are you going to do with the rest of your life?" I'm like, "I don't know, I think I'm going to start a band. That sounds easy." And no lie, she said, "Well, MercyMe, why don't you get a real job?" So in our defense, we have avoided hard labor for 22 years. So take that, Mom. So we started the band in 94. It was 99. We had written a few independent albums. We needed one more song for this album we were working on. And so I was looking for a blank page to write on, and every page and every journal I had I Can Only Imagine written on it. So I was like, okay, I get it. And so it's one of those few times in my life where the song was written like in 5 or 10 minutes. But it had been in my heart for several years. And so then we've been kind of hanging on for the ride. Everything kind of changed after that song came out. And then fast forward 10 years later, we're working on the album called All That Is Within Me. And we were in the studio talking about how we can't believe the song Imagine's 10 years old. It's like a song that won't go away. And we started talking about, man, you know, what's crazy is that I was 19 when my dad passed away. Man, I was clueless. And so much has happened since he passed away that I can't wait till I finally get to see him and kind of tell him about all this stuff. And people are like, well, you know, bless your heart, he's looking down from heaven, he's so proud. I appreciate the sentiment, I just can't find scripture that says that's true. Now, it might be, he may wear a toga and play a harp like on Looney Tunes, but I'm just saying that I think he has more important things to do, like worship the living God than stare at me all the time. But you know what? Neither here nor there. What I do believe with all of my heart is that there will be a day when I get to see him again face to face. And whether he knows about all this crazy stuff that's happened to us or not, he's gonna have to hear it from me one more time. And so that's where Finally Home came from, is just, you know, just getting to see my dad after all this stuff. And I think there's, for men, young men, old men, whatever, I just think there's a part of us that sincerely just wants to make our dad proud. And I'm no different. It's especially, this whole thing, these songs are very important to me because when my dad passed away, he was one of the godliest men I'd ever known. But he wasn't always that way. My parents divorced when I was 3. My mom remarried in about 3rd grade. She they moved to a different town, and my brother and I lived with my dad. My brother's 5 years older. And so from 3rd grade on, I lived with my dad. Everybody loved my dad, but nobody knew that he had a really bad temper, and he was very abusive behind closed doors, especially to me. I don't remember many weeks where I wasn't beaten 4 or 5 times a week. And if he had a bad day, he would take it out on me. And this went on until about 6th grade. I went through like a growth spurt, so he never laid a hand on me again, but he tore me apart emotionally. And that went on until about my freshman year in high school. And this is when my father was diagnosed with cancer. This was bittersweet for me because part of me was glad because I thought all this would come to an end. And the other part of me was devastated because it was my dad. It's all that I knew. And what I didn't realize is I was given like this front row seat to see the gospel change someone like I'd never seen before and have rarely seen since. He went from being this monster to being a man who was desperately and passionately in love with Jesus Christ. And I don't say that lightly because, quite honestly, I didn't want grace to be for him. And I was hurt. I thought, man, he can fool everybody else, but he's not going to fool me. The change was so undeniable, not because of the things he did when people were watching, it's because of the things he did when no one was watching. We never prayed in my house growing up, not at Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, it just didn't happen. And all of a sudden, my dad would be praying every night for me and my brother and my mom, who were divorced when I was 3. I'm like, who is this guy? My dad, for those 4 or 5 years, the cancer, he just withered away. He went from being like 370 pounds to 111 pounds when he passed away. And he never wanted to be in the hospital. And so for most of that time, his bedroom became his hospital. They just brought all the stuff in. And so there are so many nights where I would go in the middle of the night to check on him, and he would fall asleep with his face in the Word. I would move it to his nightstand. He would wake up, and we would start talking just hours on end. And every conversation would end the same way. He would say, I'm so sorry for the things I've done to you. I wish I could fix it. And looking back, I think every time we had those conversations, a small part of me was being repaired. Like I said, by the time he passed away, hands down, he's the guy that I want to be like when I grow up, if I ever do grow up. And it's certainly, to me, it's a happy ending because I had a chance to spend time with such a godly man, and to see firsthand such a change changed my life forever. Because I'm like, man, if the gospel can change that dude, it can change anybody. And I rejoice in the fact that he's a much greater part of my future than he ever will be of my past. And so I could say it's a happy ending, but I would be kidding if I didn't say I've had a few issues, a little bit of baggage along the way. I've been married for 19 years. I have 5 amazing kids. Shannon, my wife, was my first girlfriend in 7th grade. Hold on. She didn't come to her senses till college. We didn't date. It took a while, so. She's not here, of course, but we were best friends that whole time. She knew my dad. She kind of knew about the whole change that took place. And so it just felt like it was meant to be, man. It was like a fairy tale wedding, or at least in my head it was. Yeah. And then it didn't take long to realize that, man, I don't deal with stressful situations very well. Like I'd always just take the blame and just it would all be on me, and it was my fault, and I would just carry this guilt, and I was just wounded. Man, if something just intense would happen, I would just ball up in the corner in the fetal position and start sucking my thumbs. I didn't know what to do. And my wife was like, you know what? Here's a thought. We should go to counseling so we don't kill each other. I was like, that's a great idea. I don't want to die. And so we went and saw this amazing, godly counselor who not only saved our marriage, I think she saved our lives. And there was this moment to where, I guess you'd call it like a breakthrough moment, where she said something profound enough that I started crying like that Goodwill Hunting where there's snot flying everywhere kind of crying. It's embarrassing. And all she said was, and just to give you an idea, like I said, I have 5 kids. Sam is 14, Gracie is 11, Charlie's 10. There are 2 more that are unbelievable. And they're called 4 and 5. No, Sophie and Miles. What's funny is that's kind of a joke now, but there was a night when it actually hit me. I couldn't remember it. Does anybody have like a lot of kids like that? Like, you know, all right. You're probably napping right now, gotcha. You ever go to the pharmacy and you just try to get their medicine and they ask you for the date of birth? That's like taking an SAT test, man. I start to stress out. I'm like, I'll just rub dirt on it. I gotta go. So I have to text my wife, what's Charlie's birthday? Anyway, so what she said, if you've ever wondered what you would have been like in a godly family environment, just watch your middle son, Charlie, because he's just like you. I started bawling. Charlie's 10 now. I was crying uncontrollably, and for a while, I'm like, why did that hit me so hard? And maybe it's because it just felt like it was maybe a do-over, that I was given the chance to be the dad that my dad couldn't be to me for so long. Maybe it's because she just accused us of being a godly family environment. It's like, we win, pay the woman. Get out before she figures it out. And I do have to say that of all my kids, I certainly stare and watch Charlie more than all of them now. I overanalyze everything he does. It's like, why'd you pick Cheerios over Fruit Loops? Is that where I went wrong? And man, it just, at some point it got me thinking, man, if I could sit down and have a conversation with the 8-year-old version of me, what would that look like? With everything that's happened in your life, if you could have just 5 or 10 minutes with that innocent kid, what would you possibly say to him? The blessing and the curse of a songwriter is that my therapy is that I write songs about it. And so I thought it was a good idea for a song, not realizing it was going to be one of the hardest songs ever written. Because I didn't know what to say. And I started to stress out as if he was going to walk in the room and expect something from me. And so, man, it stuck with me for a long time. I couldn't figure it out. And then one night I was in my car by myself, and it just dawned on me. I know exactly what I would say to him. And so this song is I say it's a conversation, but he doesn't really talk back. So it's the one-sided conversation with the 8-year-old version of me. I hope you like it. It's called Dear Younger Me.